Hi guys, my name is Larissa. I have a YouTube called Outside the Box with Lala, and I talk about a lot about mental health and other special things like what we're doing now. And I actually started a Zoom with my girlfriend Crystal and Zabeda and hopefully Charlie. You know, she's there somewhere. Is part of it, and we want to make it a safe place for our queens so that we can talk about whatever, like from our hair to our skin to what we wear, just to make it a safe place. Because right now the world is so like just degrading Black women left to right, and we always the one that is like looked at on the bottom of the list. It's not a good feeling. It hurt a lot. And I just want to make it, me and Crystal and the rest of the other beautiful ladies, we just want to make it a safe place for Black women to speak our mind, to be ourselves, and know that we're learning from one another. There's no wrong or right answer. Everything is learning, and just to vibe off of each other and have fun. So that's why we started. Crystal.
Hey, you guys, it's me, Mobile Couture. I have a YouTube called The Collective, where I talk about important topics and I also get into all things beauty. So make sure y'all subscribe, hit the bell, and do all that good stuff.
Yes. So our topic today is actually one of the most sensitive topic ever. It's really sensitive, and it's like I said, it's like an elephant in the room. We all know it's there, but we try to avoid it, but you can't because it's so intense. And we are fighting a major fight. We are already fighting a war between racism. On top of that, we are also fighting a war, a silent war of colorism. You know, I don't think it's until 2000. I'll go back when Queen Latifah was rapping and stuff like that. Everybody would say I'm Black and I'm proud, and it was the thing. Then when the 90s came, we started noticing that, you know, colorism started playing a big major role. You know, you got to straighten your hair, you got to look a certain way, all this other stuff. Now in the 2000s, we noticing that we're getting back our voices, and it's not no more dark skin versus light skin. It is just about Black woman empowerment, but it's still there. So before we start, I want to show you guys a little clip of what we're about to talk about.
Team light skin, team dark skin.
You guys hear it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Black women have been cultured to compare and not connect. They threatened me every day that they would take my earrings, so they would split my earlobes. You don't know you're different until someone tells you you're different. Oh, poor little you, white girl. I never thought I was any of those things. You can't choose who you're born. You're Black, but you're not really Black. I don't think part of this complexion. I never wanted my son to be embarrassed by me. It hurts more when it's coming from your own.
Crazy is as crazy does.
Every time I said I freed 1,000 slaves, and I could have freed 1,000 more if they only knew they were slaves.
Kills me, but that was from our
Tell them where the
We talked about this topic in 2020,
yes.
and when we talked about it, we broke it up. So if you ever heard of Oprah Winfrey's years ago, she did the documentary Dark Girls. And then later on, she did a documentary called Light Girls. But Larissa did one with Dark Girls, but she never knew that there was one called Light Girls. So that was the intro to that Light Girls video 2 years ago. But now here we are. Then got better with our editing. If you go back and watch the video, please do not judge us. Okay.
But no, it was
just starting out with this YouTube thing.
So the video is really good because the video is actually you guys have to actually see it. It's really, 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 really good. And it's talking about the struggle of light-skinned girls and dark-skinned girls. Y'all gotta see both dark-skinned girls and both of them, because it's really, really important. We're always competing. Well, the media is always trying to get us to compete against each other all the time. And the reason why is because the world is pretty much have a wool over our eyes. Colonialism is a major thing, and it's not just in the United States, it's nationwide. The media actually show us what beauty is. It actually show us what it's supposed to look like, and it didn't look like us for a long time. And it kind of show you that the whiter you are, the better you are. The whiter you are, the better you are. And it's a slave mentality. That's another way of calling it colonialism. That slave mentality. So if they can tell you that you're not where we're at, but you're here, then I'm gonna let you guys fight between each other, whoever is on top. And it was something brutal. It was something ugly, but it's a scarf that Black people wear. And it's always about who's better or what beauty looks better. I don't really want to talk a lot. I actually want you guys to talk, because I want to learn from you guys. I want to learn from your experience. I want to know, how you guys feel. And I actually have a couple questions. I'm gonna read the questions to you guys. First question is, what is the difference between between colorism and preference? What is the difference between colorism and preference? And this is about dating. We're talking about dating now. So anybody want to speak on that? To me, colorism is that I don't like nothing that look like me. Because I don't like nothing that look like me, I'd rather want to date outside my race or get something that's, that I think is better than what I look like. And preference is, you're not dating this person because of the color of their skin, but you're dating this person because, it could be trying to, learn something new, learn from each other, and grow from each other. That's how I look at colorism and preference, because I'm not going to hate who I am or whatever that created me. And because of that, I would never put down another race. Another another man or another woman that's that look like something that I look like. Do anybody have a experience?
I was going to say that's exactly where the divide between colorism and preference stops. Is everybody has a preference, but once you have to put down another group to uplift your preference, that's when it becomes colorism. And I'm just going to dare say it, Black men put a lot of these preferences / colorisms on Black women. And again, ladies, this is a safe space, so go ahead and talk about it, because I'm going to talk about it. Black men will constantly, just like that one TikTok video that went viral a while ago, and the white girlfriend asked her Black boyfriend, why do you date white girls? She said, why do you date white girls? And his first response was, because Black women don't. She never mentioned anything about Black women, but here you come, loud and wrong. That is no longer a preference. That is, like you said, the slave mentality where they got you thinking that white is right.
To piggyback off of both what Crystal and Larissa said, I agree 100%. For me, preference is, I don't feel like there can be a preference when it comes to skin color. I feel like it's your own internal battle. But for me, colorism is, again, when you prefer or you deem, something that's lighter as better. I don't know how many times I've been somewhere, maybe a group of friends, and I'm usually the darkest one. And, they'll be like, oh, you're pretty for a dark-skinned girl or woman. I'm just like, but what does that mean? So are you implying that dark-skinned women, in general are not beautiful? And I just so happen to be the exception. So I see that a lot. Colorism plays into a battle of Black people because, again, it's like a crab in a barrel mentality where it's just like, oh, only one can or only a certain group can exceed. So it's just like, oh, we have to find more ways to put each other down. And colorism has been at the forefront of it, where it's just like, especially in beauty, it's just recently where we're seeing ourselves reflected and deemed beautiful. So again, just going with the two, preference to me is, maybe height or maybe, ethnicity as a whole. But if you say, oh, I prefer dark-skinned men or I prefer light-skinned men, I feel like there's a deeper trauma there that also needs to be discussed. I don't really think that's a preference. That's my own thing.
I want to jump in and piggyback off of what you said. So I have 3 short points. One, you mentioned something about, I just lost my train of thought. Darn it. You mentioned having a preference. So a lot of times in my experience from talking to people or even like from the media or like even a lot of things, the preference or colorism sometimes comes from an experience, right? So they had a bad experience with a dark-skinned girl. They had a bad experience with a dark-skinned guy. They had a bad experience with an Asian person, like whatever the category is. It could come from preference, or it could just come from, like you said, the media and society feeding us these false or faux ideas of what perfection or beauty are. And then you mentioned when people say, oh, you're pretty for a dark-skinned girl. To me, that has the same weight as saying you're smart for a Black person, assuming or implying, one, that microaggression, and two, that, well, what's the standard? Like, why you have to add in to be a Black girl, to be a whatever? So that's damaging in itself. And then I wanted to pose a question on top of Larissa's question. Is colorism only seeing the lighter side as beauty? So if you prefer or you favor or you're biased towards darker people and you prefer not to associate or not to deal with or date light-skinned people, is that still colorism?
To me, yes. But I will say, I guess it would depend on the group. I found that Black men who have those types of preferences tend to like lighter women. I do know some men that do like darker, but they never in the process put down another light skin. You see what I'm saying? So that's where it's blended. It's always the ones who prefer the lighter ones who, oh, I don't do darkies. Chris Brown. Oh my God, if I ever meet him, boils my blood. He says that I don't do darkies.
Yeah, he did.
That's so disrespectful. Like, okay, if you want to date somebody that's yellow like you, that's fine. But you didn't have to go out of your way to disrespect and talk down upon. He has kicked dark-skinned girls out of VIP. You know what I mean? Whole 9 yards. You going too far. That's no longer a preference. That's hate.
So
That's hate.
I was gonna say that that colonialism way of thinking is embedded in our Black race. Even I'm African, and you don't have to be African American to that slave mentality is across the entire world. So if they're always showing images of white women, and they're always showing the blue eyes, silky hair, and all this other stuff, and even in jobs, you guys forget that. I don't know if you guys remember or you guys even know it, but they passed the queen, what's it called? The crown with the hair. What is it called? The crown something.
The Crown Act.
And it's showing us that the image of what we look like is not acceptable, because in jobs, they will tell you that, oh, if you don't straighten your hair, if you don't do this and that, or, you can leave. That's a real thing. So if our Black men are seeing that, so they're already slave mentality of thinking that the whiter is better. So if I can't get the white girl, then I can get the light skinned girl. You see, that's how I look at it. You can get whoever you want, because I date outside my race all the time, but I would not. Are you kidding me? My dad is a king in my eyes. Okay. And I cannot, and my brothers, so I cannot degrade my race because I have a preference. So some of our people, they degraded who they are. You forgot you got a mom, you got a grandma, you know what I mean? A granddad or a father, and you're degrading who you are. You're degrading your whole image because you have the slave mentality, the colonialism way of thinking. That's how I look at it.
And there's another layer to that, though. When you think about the Kim Kardashians and every girl that Chris Brown has dated except Rihanna, like if you and all of these women who are culture vultures and are attempting to look like us, society says that when they do it, it's trendy, it's edgy, it's fashion, it's the new thing. But when we continue to do and live how we've been living, whether it be our hair, our body features, our figures, the way we talk, our jargon, any of that, it's deemed as ghetto or unacceptable. So they're on top of like the white standard of beauty. For me, there's another layer of like, oh, okay, this white standard of beauty exists. And now there's this culture vulture layer that exists, because things are not acceptable until a white person does it, or someone of lighter skin does it. European background does it. So for me, it's not just within our own, our own network. It's there's just layers to it.
I like that term, culture vulture. Yeah, Black men don't want Black women, but they'll date a white woman who acts Black. I don't get it. And I will say that a lot of times, a majority of the times, the white women who feel like they can go on and, oh, you can't gatekeep that, and I can wear box braids and I can have the long lashes and the acrylics and talk with the AAVE, the vernacular and everything. That's because they're empowered by the Black man they allow them to do that. If I ever dated, I've never dated a white man, but if I ever dated a white man, you will never, ever, ever, ever catch me letting him put down his own people. But Black men allow white women to do that. I was about to say something else. It could be my little iced tea I'm drinking, but I feel like that Black men want to be white men. They want the white women. They want to feel like they want to, and so they release all this power, and it's putting us down and degrading us and disrespecting us in the process. Yeah.
I'm going to go to the next question, but ladies, yes, we learn from one another. The second question is you guys kind of answered this, but I said, who benefit from who benefit from colorism, and what is colorism? Do you guys know exactly what is colorism, like the definition behind colorism?
I know. I'm trying to. That's a hard question. So complex.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, second part, because I'm not sure who benefits from colorism. I'm about to have a little spiel because honestly, this is a new term for me that I kind of not recently, but over some time have come to realize that a lot of the times I didn't even realize what was going on when we was growing up in school, when we, talked about other children that were darker than us, or, kids making joke and fun. So it actually happens at a very young age. But we never had a term for it. We never had something that connected that prejudice, because that's what colorism is, prejudice against dark skin tones.
Yeah.
So, that's what that is. But I'm not sure who benefits from colorism, because in our community, it's like we against each other when we all Black, but we against each other. Is hateful. So I don't believe anybody really benefits, but I understand culturally and globally, yes, people of light skin tone benefit from colorism, because whether they're getting picked and choose over another dark skinned woman or a man, so basically maybe light skinned people, white, not maybe, but of course, light skinned people, white people, people basically in different cultures also experience colorism as well. It's a global thing. It's just not in Black communities, and that's the hard facts about that. That is just not in our Black community.
I think about like,
Yeah.
I think about there's a movie that just came out. I can't remember what it's called. I think it was on Netflix with Tessa. I can't remember her last name, but it was pretty much about a woman in the 40s who she passed for white. So what that's called is white passing. If you were unfamiliar, it's called white passing. So someone who's very, very, very fair skinned that could pass for white back in the day. So when I hear Mercedes talking about that, it made me think of, one, that movie, and two, the idea that there's always someone lighter than you. So if Johnny over here prefers lighter women, no one really benefits from that. Even in my opinion, no one really benefits from that. Even light-skinned people, because there's always someone lighter. Like, unless you're white passing, like, there's always someone lighter skinned than you that they could choose, or that they could prefer. So it's just like, it's always an uphill battle. I don't know. For me, it just seems like maybe white people win or benefit, but I don't think anyone in the Black community benefits, even the men that are choosing lighter women, because subconsciously or unsubconsciously, even if they don't know it or realize it, they're digging themselves back towards that slave mentality. And half the time they don't even realize it. And then when these white women are done with them, they walk away from them. So they're losing in this battle as well.
Sherry?
I agree with, excuse me, what Brittany said, as far as the institution of white supremacy is what benefits, because that closer to whiteness is what makes you better. Colorism upholds that idea. And so when I was preparing for this, I looked up the bleaching industry. And like Larissa said, and someone else said, this is a global issue. And I'm going to keep it Black. But I just wanted to say that it's, according to CNN, it's an $8 billion industry. Well, it was an $8 billion industry in 2020. And we all know, so in 2020, skin bleaching was an $8 billion industry or economy. And we all know that there are health concerns tied to bleaching your skin. In addition to that, and someone mentioned this, it's a self-hate if you want to bleach your skin. I believe in God. I believe in the Creator. He made us the way that He wanted us. So no one is a mistake. Oh God, there's so much I want to say. The colorism, when you think about slavery and how they use colorism as a tool of divisiveness. And I was surprised, like I've heard of octoroons and quadroons, but I was reading a book and they have another term like musty and mustafino. And again, the reason that colorism exists is to divide us and separate us. Right. And again, having these conversations is so healing, because we're all beautiful, and we've all experienced colorism, I'm sure. Crystal had said before everyone joined the call, I'm not light skinned. And the funny thing is my family laughs at me. Let me go on camera. My family laughs at me because I don't consider myself to be light skinned. And I think a part of that is my family, we come in a multitude of shades of Black. We come in very, very light. We come in very, very dark. I feel like I fall in the middle. So I don't consider myself light skinned. But my family is very adamant that, yes, you are light skinned. And so I have to think to myself, why do I get so upset? Why am I infuriated? Because people tell me that I'm light skinned. And part of it is because a coworker helped me realize she was darker than me. And she said, well,
let me share, you breaking up.
Yes, just a little bit.
I am so sorry. Is that better?
Yes.
A coworker of mine had told me that I benefit from light skin privilege. I had never heard that before. But now I walk around with this guilt trip because I realize because people consider me light skinned, there is a privilege because of people's unconscious biases and prejudices. They look at me as light skinned and think of me a certain kind of way. I hope what I said made sense. Oh, and one other story I want to share. Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
And I doubt anyone on this call is guilty of this. So me and some family members were together. I was about 12 years old. And an adult said, I remember this so vividly. She said, not that one, the little dark-skinned one, referring to me. And the way that she said it, it was like, it was very nasty. It was very ugly. And just adults, you never know how what you're going to say is going to impact a kid. And I just carry that with me for the rest of my life. And I think that might be why I'm so like, no, I'm not light skinned, I'm dark skinned, because she was saying it like it was an ugly thing. And I was like, no, being dark skinned or the little dark one or whatever, it's not a bad thing. And my grandmother, God rest her soul, she's very, very dark skinned. And I remember she asked me one day, what color are you? And I said, brown. And she said, no, you're Black. I said, no, I'm brown. She said, no, you're Black. So my family was very, pro-Black and just making sure that I was Black and I was proud. But I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening and letting me get that out.
Sherry, anytime. I love when you talk. I told you that. But I was going to say that I don't know if you guys, I'm so sorry, but I just want to say, I don't know if you guys heard of the paper brown bag. The paper brown bag. The brown paper bag. Thank you. It's been out for a while. And this, again, slave mentality, colonialism. If you are darker than a paper brown, darker than a brown paper bag, you can't pass, or I don't know how
it wasn't acceptable.
It wasn't acceptable.
They used to put that, like, they used to hang it on top, like you couldn't go into places if you were darker than that brown paper bag.
Different places, they used to hang it up, and thank you, Crystal. Yes, they used to hang it up, and it was a thing. It was a real thing. And again, the colonialism way of thinking is to brainwashing the people of color to make them feel like less than, and when you look at your certain people's family, it's embedded in them. When we was watching Light Skin Girl, I remember that it was a survival, like you have to survive. The reason why some parents or some family members do not accept darker tone family member is because it's more of a survival. I might just see my cousin lunch in a tree somewhere. So I can't show that I'm a part of him or a part of them, And now when we looking at it now, it's embedded in us. So they still have that same slave mentality. And believe it or not, if they don't realize it, you're saying that white is better. You're not saying it, but you're actually saying it. But if you're brainwashed, you don't know.
Hello, ladies. I'm sitting here listening, and believe it or not, I have been on both ends of the spectrum. Both. They say I'm light bright, damn near white. I've heard that all my life. My grandfather was so light, he passed as a white man. I have had Black people dislike me because of my color. I have had white people dislike me because of my color. As far as I was concerned, I never had a problem. I was fine. It was everybody else. I have never dated out of my race, but I have had men tell me they won't talk to me or date me because I'm light skinned and we're stuck up. It's just amazing. I mean, amazing, amazing, amazing that this was when I was a little girl, even now, till I'm 63. I had women look at me like I'm crazy because I'm light skinned. I used to bleach my hair blonde just because that was the color I wanted. I had white women tell me they thought I was white because my hair was blonde. My own daughter told me she thought that was my natural color. So that lets you know how long I did it.
Forever.
But the problem with this is everybody has a problem, no matter what. I can be the most down-to-earth person there is in the world. Somebody is going to dislike me just because of my complexion. Now, grant you, I did do what was it I did, Crystal?
The ancestry DNA.
Right. Okay. When I did it, my ancestry came back more than 51% European. And then when I was telling people, they were like, well, are you going to change your race? No. Why? I've always identified with being Black, and Black is who I am. Back in the day, my grandfather passed because my grandfather was Black. His mother was white as snow. My grandfather has blonde hair and blue eyes. And if you saw him, you would say he was a white man. But his birth certificate, well, it wasn't a birth certificate then. His birth certificate says that he was Negro. We never knew who his father was. Only thing we know is that his mother was a white woman. You see a picture of my grandfather, you will swear up and down that he is a white man. It took me a long time to realize he was not a white man. But because you have a Black man as your father and you had a white woman, you're automatically considered Black, or back in those days, Negro. So either way it goes, I understand exactly what everybody is saying on both spectrums because I have lived it. I have walked down the road with my grandfather, and it was me and my two brothers, and we walked down the road hand in hand. And the white men used to say, here come Woodrow with his nigger kids. I have experienced that. I remember that. And I was a child. So I have lived this all of my life. I have gotten into fights. You name it, I've done it. And this was growing up. And I was like, oh, I don't understand what the problem is. But I am that fair that I have been told I could sit in the White House until I open up my mouth. I have had people tell me that all of Crystal's life.
Said it.
But so either way it goes, it's there and it's not going nowhere.
Mm-mm.
Because it was there when I was a kid and it's here now and I'm a grown woman. And I still have people look at me like they don't know what to do. I have weave in my hair right now. People thought I was white because of the weave I have in my hair. And that's just the way it is. I'm very fair. I am the lightest child in our family. Am I not, Crystal? No. Trina? No. But that's just the way it is. Sean Renee, Trina.
She was on.
And
I could think she got off.
And we have our family line, our genes are just that strong that we just are just that way. Whoever our children's fathers are, they don't have a chance in nothing. And you couldn't tell me that even I had it, because even when I was pregnant with Crystal, you couldn't tell me I wasn't going to have this little yellow baby. Lo and behold. And
made it, y'all. I got some color.
Refuses to believe that she's light skinned.
I don't, because I feel like I have the same experience.
She's right. She got color.
Did. I had the same experience that Sherry did. I had family members, because on my mom's side of the family, I'm one of the darkest on my mom's side. I had family members tell me that I was the chocolate baby of the family. And because everybody is so much lighter than me, I never looked at myself as light skinned. I never did. I might joke around and say I got light skin tendencies, like I bruise real easily, like stuff like that. But I don't view myself, because I had the same experience that Sherry had. And a lot of people never talk about the middle. You're either really, I'm too light to be dark and I'm too dark to be light, if that makes sense. So a lot of people, in talking about colorism, we don't talk about us that's stuck in the middle. That never really gets talked about either.
Well, that's part of colorism. That's part
it
of
is
colorism.
A part of colorism. And unfortunately it's 3 shades: light, middle, and dark. And nobody wants to accept all 3. But Jeannie, if you want to jump in, thank you, Ma, for your input.
Yes, thank you, Ma.
Colorism, I know colorism started from slavery time. They just didn't call it colorism at that time. The lighter you were, the closer you got to the big house. So that's why Black men, look at white women or lighter skinned women as being the better partner, because that's what they saw during slavery times. The lighter women got to live in the big house. That meant they were better than the very dark skinned women that were working out there in the fields with them. So for me, I personally, I don't know, I didn't hear it when I was a baby, but I heard it when I was older, right? That a comment was made about me, the little black baby. Well, I was determined to be great. So that's what I did. So I personally think black skin is great skin. Being black, dark skin, please. Some people tell me about skin all the time. They want to look like me. I love it. And we all feel like that. It might even change a little bit. I love it. All the time. I sit down. Oh my God, your skin is so nice. What do you do? Nothing. I put water on it.
You woke up black.
Yeah. I wash it with water. I ain't put that on it for years. I'm an esthetician now. So, anti-aging, I gotta make sure I'm doing the right things.
Help me out. I'm getting crows.
But it comes from slavery times. And it's, like I said, the lighter you are, the closer you got to the big house. And that's what they saw. And that's what they thought was good. And it went on and on and on down the line until our time. And it just hasn't gone away. It's just embedded in our culture. And as far as who wins, we don't win as a culture. We don't, because it separates us. But definitely white America does win. White supremacists. Like the other person said.
Real quick, I think that there are so many people, and I'm not trying to particularly point out darker, but people who like Jeannie said that, the black men want the white women or closest to it because they were the one in the house. And there is this, not trying to take away from any darker skins experience or anything, but everybody on the darker end, you know, there is a lighter privilege, yes, but people don't see past that point. So yes, the lighter ones were in the house, but y'all think they was just sitting down with master drinking the lemonade that day?
Right.
No, they was getting raped, they was getting
Getting
beat.
raped,
Nobody
beat,
never talks
everything.
about that part. Like, there is, just because there is a white privilege doesn't mean that a light skin privilege doesn't mean that there is not also a light skin struggle. And that's why when we originally did this documentary, Larissa never knew about that. The documentary Light Girls came out, and she said when she watched it, she cried. You know, yes, there are people back in those times were white passing, but that was to save their lives. That was to save the lives of themselves. That was to save the lives of their
Families.
children.
Mhm.
You know, nobody talks about that. They just think, oh yeah, well, I'm going to get in the club with Chris Brown. Okay, I'm going to be in the house with Master making lemonade. No, that's why it's so many of us who are so many shades, because we got mixed in and blended in and all that other stuff. But
Okay, wait, I'm gonna let Sherry answer, and somebody else. Who else raised their hand? Sherry and who else?
Regina for
okay,
Jason Long.
okay, after y'all answer this, I'm gonna go to the next question. But yes, go ahead, Sherry.
I was actually going to make the same point that Crystal did based on what Regina said, and also Sharon, as far as making it to the big house and experiencing, you know, both good and bad. And we don't talk about it, and maybe this could be another topic for another day. But to Crystal's point, if you made it to the big house, you were getting raped, you were getting beat by the master's wife, because there was that animosity, right? Because my husband is raping this slave, having these children. So it just was a very disgusting situation to be in. And again, we don't talk about it. And not to take away from the field work, because we know it was harsh conditions in the field. But again, just to Crystal's point, in the house, the women had it just as bad from both the master and the wife.
Yep.
Yeah. Brittany, I saw what you said. Yep. Michael Mack said field nigger and house nigger. Sorry, just putting it out there. I saw it.
Add real quick though. I think as far as just talking about colorism itself, I think that's why our men look at light skin and dark skin.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that if you were in the house, it wasn't a happy thing. It wasn't a good trip. So, yeah.
One thing I want to talk about, you guys were talking about like the middle, like something like I'm too dark for light skin, but I'm not dark enough to be dark skin. Like I would consider myself a brown skin woman. Like people don't talk. I feel like that should be something that should also like. I think all shades of blackness should be recognized. So you can be like in brown skin, dark skin. That's the middle part that people don't recognize.
Mm-hmm.
That's like we should just start opening up about and talking about, hey, we all come from shades, and that's okay.
Yeah, true. I also want to say that you guys have to remember that back in the day, during slavery, the master, the white man used to have sex with the slave because it raised the price of the lighter slave up high. So if you're betting and your master wants to bet on you and to get more money, he's gonna sleep with the darker slave to get a biracial baby, because the biracial baby is a higher price and value. So just want to put that out there. I'm gonna go to the next question. I'm doing so good. How does colorism affect people in specific locations such as the United States, Africa, Caribbean, island, and South Asia? Because we need to talk about that. Like we said, it's not just the African American. How does it affect Africans? How does it affect Caribbean people? Caribbean islands. How does it affect people in South Asia, like the darker locations? Do anybody want to speak on that?
I promise I'll be brief. Because when you mentioned Southeast Asia, actually in the CNN report that I was looking up, it said that they're actually like the highest spender when it comes to bleaching cream, which I was surprised. I had no idea. And I won't speak too much about it because that's not my culture, but I know in like the Hispanic culture, they actually have like a phrase, which is like whiten the race, because that makes the race better. And intertwined with that is the whole texturism thing. So you're absolutely right. It's not just something that we suffer with here in the United States, but it is global.
Okay. Do any of my African people want to speak, or should I speak?
Well, my name is Nina. I'm Larissa's
My
sister.
big too.
I am actually giving the babies a bath, so I'm not gonna turn on my camera. But
twins. Go ahead.
in the African culture, they see you as better when you're lighter, or you get more privilege, you get treated better, and that's why a lot of them do bleach. That's why I was so surprised when you said that Southeast Asia? That's the highest. I'm shocked because I thought it was the Africans, to be honest, because they bleach. A lot of them bleach, and they find that there's privilege in being lighter.
I was gonna say that being African and stuff like that, you know, that's why I say that colonialism way of thinking is not just in the United States; it's across board. And you know, when they're looking at the media and stuff like that, you know, a lot of times they don't see nobody that look like themselves. They don't. And again, I call it brainwashing. If I can get to your brain and your mind, and I can shift the way you think, and you know, make you feel like, oh, if you're lighter, then if you have silky hair, if you have this and that, it's better. But I think that we have to wake up, seriously. Take yourself
Larissa,
out of
sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Nina. You still speaking?
No. I was going to say, I think it has a lot, like I said, it has a lot to do with the media, especially back in the day. They see that these white people had a lot of fun. They had privilege. They were in the media, so they saw them in that light and portrayed that race as the better race. But it's deeper than that. We all know that. It goes deeper than that. But I think it has a lot to do with media and just things that's happened in history and things like that. But listen, that was a valid point.
Yeah. Sherry,
can I ask the group a question?
Yes.
So you all, those of you that know me know that I like to write children's books, and so my first children's book was inspired by my son, and the character has a big, huge afro, and he's brown skin. And so I was working on translating the book, and she didn't mean any harm, but the person that was helping me translate the book, she was like, well, why don't you write your next book and make it a racially ambiguous character? And I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. These books are inspired by my kids. But I'm like, why does that matter? Like, I feel like I should have been offended. So am I like being super sensitive? Like, that's a thing.
It's a thing.
No, because you're lucky the filter is there from brain to mouth, because who you talking to, ma'am?
So that's weird, right? Like,
yes,
Sherry, but you got to understand this. Even in the music industry, they tell the woman, like, don't get a tan, don't get this and that. Oh no, we're just helping you out. We just wanted to make it. No, because you're trying to
whitewash,
brainwash. Yes.
Okay.
Whitewash me into this slave mentality to make me feel like I'm not good enough. And I'm glad that you told the person no. Like, what do you think this is? And we're in 2022, and you really think that this is that was a good idea?
Thank you. Because I didn't know what else to say other than no, and I just had to digest it. And I was like, well, maybe I'm just being hypersensitive, but thank you guys.
Yeah. And speaking about that, that's the next one I was actually going to ask. How our children are affected by colorism? How are children affected by colorism? Because our children are affected by colorism. Like Krista mom just said that in their family, you know, is a division. Krista actually has to say that they call her the darker child. So how are our child, because something you say, Miss Sherry, what you say? No, Krista mom, she said something about when she was younger, they would tell her father that, oh, there grew, you know, him and his nigger baby. So how how does this affect our children, and how can we make it better? Because children is like sponges, they suck everything. Mercedes?
That's a very good question. I'm on this Zoom talk because of my daughter. She enlightened me so much about colorism because she's darker than me. And she had to help me to realize that
A beautiful woman too.
just because I struggle with certain things, it doesn't make my struggle the same as if a dark-skinned woman or a dark-skinned man had those same issues. That's why colorism is singleized like it is. Yes, we as light-skinned hue have our own issues, but until we really get to the heart of the dark skin tones of our culture, we won't get to the deep hatred that really brews from colorism. So my daughter, my sons, they are all darker than me. So I had my son, even boys, okay, want to be light skinned or of a lighter skin tone because maybe they get talked about or they're not always, as we talked in the beginning of the talk, preferred. So it affects children even to the day. Even when I was younger, I didn't have a name for it. You know, when other children would be talked about like, oh, you dark as the street and all these other things. And, you know, we as kids, we would laugh and we thought it was funny. And, or if somebody said, oh, I like you because you light skin. I don't like your friend like that because she dark skin. You know, certain things like that, we still have to be careful about what we pass down to our children, even if we are affected indirectly, if that makes any sense. Because I didn't have that type of issue that my child might have faced because she is of dark skin color. She's darker than me. I had people thinking I'm biracial. Like, are you mixed? Are you all that? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And my daughter had to tell me, like, Mom, just because you faced that doesn't mean that was colorism. That was just some prejudice or, people's ignorance about what Black culture really is. And we are all mixed with all different types of things, as we said earlier. So when we get back to the root of it, is very is generational. We pass that stuff down to our kids and without even knowing it.
Yeah.
With statements like no shade, Crystal, with statements like, yeah, light skin tendencies. Yeah, like that's indirectly we can say that around our children that are dark skinned that may not have light skin tendencies. What they got then? You know what I mean? So we have to be careful about our statements. We got to be careful about what we say, because we don't never know how it may affect our nieces, our nephews, or, our children, or, anybody of our culture, because it's embedded in what we see, rap videos, acting, in the movies. All that stuff is just being brainwashed into our children. So when we're home behind closed doors, just like what Sherry's doing with her books, like we need to make sure we are, oh my gosh, encouraging our children about who they are and loving every different skin tone of who they are, because it's getting passed down. We just got a name for it now.
Yeah. Anybody else that have kids before I go to the next question? Because I'm talking about dating next. So all right. So dating wise,
want to comment on that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Gabby.
Question. I think as far as our kids, I think colorism, racism is all around us. It's embedded in microaggressions. They encounter it when they watch TV, when they go to school, from little, comments from their playmates or from teachers and stuff like that. But I think it definitely, I'm not going to say the majority of it, but a lot of it even comes from self-hate. It comes from our own household. I remember when, I don't have any kids, but I had a cousin who, I would say she's She's brown skin, so she's like in between. She's not dark skin or light skin. But she had a biracial sister. Her sister was half Puerto Rican and half black. And for some reason, I guess because of self-hate, like her grandma will always only want to pick up her light-skinned sister, her biracial sister. And it affected her so bad to the point where she started to get depressed about it. Like, she even asked me one day, she was like, why grandma doesn't love me the way that she loves, my sister. She was like, is it because I'm ugly? Mm-hmm. And that was a moment for me that clicked for me. Like, it's crazy. Like, colorism, like somebody said earlier before, colorism affects all of us. Nobody really gains from colorism because it affects our entire community. It basically affects all of us. So, I don't know. Just like I said, it definitely comes from within as well. It starts with self-hate. And I think like the only way to change it is just to change the way we see ourselves. But yeah.
Thanks, Jasmine. Miss Sharon? Oh, it's on mute, Mom.
Click the
Okay. Okay. I've been a nurse for 36 years. It's what we teach our children. And I say that because I had a patient that was, and the only thing he ever did was color. That's all he ever did. He would never use a black crayon because it was ugly to him. So one day, I just wanted to see what happened. And we took all the other crayons away. He would use every crayon except the black crayon. We took every crayon away and just left him with the black crayon. He went ballistics. The fact that somebody taught child that black was ugly, he would always give the darker skinned nurses a hard way to go. He never gave me a hard way to go. He just would not do it. And it was sad because it was taught to him. He couldn't do anything for himself. But just that fact alone, these people, this is what they teach them from being children. And once they teach them this, there's nothing you can do to break it half the time. Children know nothing. They only know what you teach them. So that's it.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the next question. Yes, Mom, you're right. I mean, look at the world right now. All these white supremacists and stuff. I mean, I know that's not part of the topic, but
the mass shooter.
Okay, they were taught.
He was only 18. That was taught.
Yep. Okay, let's go because we're not doing this. So dating wise, ladies, let me see. Dating wise, do you ever felt any kind of effect or feel like you're not good enough, or do you ever feel like the light skin or the white woman or getting more of our black men? I wanted to put it in a nicer tone, in a nicer way, but dating wise, do you feel like because the options are less, because I know a lot of my ladies on here want that black love, and how do colorism play a role in that? Anybody want to speak on that?
The white ones that got them, Cav. Next.
Crystal, I agree 100%.
No, I want somebody to speak on that. Who?
I agree 100%, Crystal. Yes.
What she say?
They don't,
the white ones that got them can have them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because as far as dating, I can only give a couple examples how I've experienced colorism. One example that always sticks out in my mind is I remember dating a guy. We're just getting to know each other, and he just kind of made an offhand comment, and I kind of dug in deeper, and he was like, you know, normally my preference is, you know, lighter women, even white women. I said, okay, so why are we here? And he was like, oh, you know, haven't really had much success. I was like, okay. I was like, well, tell me a little bit more about your preference. And basically, he said he prefers lighter women, even white women, because for him, he wants his children to come out light skinned, coolie hair, you know, racially ambiguous. And I'm just like, and so I was trying to go into it further, like, okay, you don't think there's a problem there? Because he was dark skinned, he was darker than me. You know, I looked at a picture of his family he showed me, and I'm just like, your whole family is dark skinned and they're beautiful. Like, why is it that you have such a strong preference in that they have to, your children have to look this way? And he basically told me the way he grew up, the way he was teased about being dark skinned, he didn't want that for his children. And to a degree, I got it, because I was just like, you know, that's where a lot of this stems from. You know, the self-hatred. You know, we look in the mirror, we see ourselves, and we're like, we don't want this for our children. We don't want to date someone who looks like us, because we don't want our children then to be called all the names. You know, you're black as tar, you're dark as midnight, all these different things. But, you know, it's a deeper conversation, because I'm just like, you have to love on your children regardless, however they look. And the fact that you're simply dating just because you want your child to come out fair skinned, a certain sort of look, you want them to look exotic, whatever you want to call it, it just is really like, it has never left me. And I'm just like, well, if that's your preference, you can go on ahead. But it kind of sucks, because I do like Black love. You know, I do want a Black man, but it's harder to find them who, you know, love themselves enough and are not just looking at, okay, she has nice hair, she's this tone, she's in the right shade, I can get with that. Like, it has been hard. So that's my piece on it.
Thank you. Jasmine?
I just want to piggyback off of what she said, because that seriously just reminded me of something that I had forgotten up until this point. I remember when I was younger, I was probably like a teenager or something like that. And my older cousin, he was like in his 20s. We were talking one day. And I don't know how the conversation started or how we even got into it, but I guess we were talking about his girlfriends or something like that. And maybe I suggested somebody to him. And he was like, no. He's like, no, he didn't even go light skin. He said, I want to have a baby by a white woman because I want my daughter to be pretty. And when I tell you that hit me in the gut, like it stabbed me in the heart. It was like, you don't realize that your mom is Black. You don't realize that all your aunties are Black. I'm Black. So you're basically sitting there saying that we're not pretty. And it baffles me when going back to the Chris Brown situation, and, you know, just thinking about all, just in general, Black men in general that prefer light-skinned women, it's the majority of them. Just it baffles me that they don't even have the mindset to sit and think and say, like, when I say these things, when I say, oh, this is my preference, which is basically discriminating against a whole, you know, group of people because they're a certain shade. When I say these things, it baffles me that they don't even stop and think about their sisters, their mothers, their aunties, like their grandmas. Like you're basically like just Xing all of them out. You're basically saying that they're not pretty enough. But anyway, besides that point, when I was in college, we used to call it the educated nigga syndrome, because I went to a predominantly white college, and it wasn't a lot of sisters on campus. But even the sisters that were on campus, the Black guys wasn't really trying to date them. They were trying to date the white woman. And when I got there, I used to hang out with upperclassmen, and they had, I don't know, they coined it or they heard about it on TV or something like that. But it was the first time that I ever heard of it. So the educated nigga syndrome is basically just when you don't even have to be educated these days. But back then it was a Black man gets a little bit of education and they need a trophy on their arms, basically. And that trophy, of course, is not a Black woman, so it has to be, you know, a white woman. So yeah, that was my experience back in college. I would say nowadays, I don't have a whole lot of dating experience where it comes to light-skinned men or Well, I typically, what I do is I try not to, just because I'm very leery of colorism, and I know colorism is real, and I know, colorism is basically self-hate, and a lot of men they suffer from it. So what I typically do, I just try not to date light skin, because I know light skin men will typically want a woman who's light skinned. I mean that dark skinned men as well, but I don't know.
Okay.
Whenever I hear trigger words, and trigger words are usually like, "Oh, you're red bone," or "I like red bone," or "I like light skin," or something like that, I just try to stay away from it.
Thank you, Jasmine. That was good. So the next question is, what is the difference between racism and colorism? Is it even a difference? Is it even a difference? Because I mean, to me, the difference is in your own race, but is it really a difference?
I think the difference between racism, like, I'm just going to make this really broad in general. So when white people will say, like, oh, Black people are racist against us, we can't be. It might be a prejudice, but to me, racism is when, because of the color of your skin, that there are systems in place to keep said group oppressed. Within the Black community, colorism, yes, we're all suppressed. We're all oppressed. Whether you're light or dark, we still Black at the end of the day. Whether I'm light, like my mom said, wasn't liked by white people because she's still Black at the end of the day. No matter if we're lighter or darker, we're Black. So I don't think that I don't think it's racism. We can't keep systems to keep us our own self down. So
I agree with you. Racism is, we don't have power. And when you're racism, you have a power, you have authority. But because we're Black, we're suppressed. And because you're suppressed, we will even look at the minorities, which we know we're not, but they're looking at as the majority or whatever. So I think that's the difference. But I really don't think, if you look deep down inside of it, it's still the same. It's the same thing to me, because it's still hate. It's still hate. You know what I mean? And is either you hate your own kind, it's still hate. It's still hate. So I don't think that's the only differences, because we're suppressed and they're not. But at the end of the day, it's no difference, because it's still hate. The word hate, Okay, I'm gonna ask the last question. So what were some of your experience with colorism? Did anybody have any story of, I know Miss Sharon, you had shared some, and thank you for that. I think Mercedes shared some too, but do anybody have any experience or with colorism? Like Jasmine, I think you shared some too, but do anybody else on the line have any type of experience or anything with colorism that shocked you, or like you're offended? Miss Sharon, go ahead.
When Crystal was a baby, she was much darker than she is now. But that was because of her congenital heart problems. And people used to tell me that she wasn't my baby because she was so dark. I mean, she wasn't. She wasn't. She wasn't much darker. But after she had her open heart surgery, she lightened up. But I've had people tell me that she wasn't mine because she was too dark. Yes.
And then when I got older, I had.
Go ahead. So I was like, so where you think she came from? I have no clue. I'm not going to be having nobody else's baby 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But I did have people tell me that she was too dark. Just because she had color.
I had some family members tell me I was too dark. And then when I started dating, I had a guy tell me that his preference is mixed girls. So because when I will say this, when they find out that my mom is mixed and that my dad too is a little on the lighter side with the really fine curly hair, they be like, "Oh, you white." I have legit had arguments with people that I used to date, and they will argue me down that I'm not black. How you gonna tell me what I am? I'm not may not be as black as you or as far as skin color, but you can't take away my race, like not race, my ethnicity. I'm black at the end of the day. I identify as black. If I walked into a room full of white people, they're not gonna say they're gonna that mixed girl. No, they're gonna be like, they're gonna that black girl. I'm black, period. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, Regina.
So I had a couple incidents because I was of the darker skin, just black, period, as a nurse. So I had a patient who didn't want me to use my black stethoscope on her. And she screamed and yelled. Of course, she was extra, extra white and very, very old. And it was probably something she learned. So of course, she got the black stethoscope. But that was instance for me. And I'm trying to think of another one. I had a patient who was severely, severely obese, heard my voice on the phone as a home care nurse, and didn't want me to come out to see them. And I knew why. And, I could have been like, well, let me just call the office and have someone else come out to see you. What I said was, tomorrow you're going to still be sick and I'm still a nurse and you're not going to have a nurse. And hung up.
That's right.
I'll still be black.
That part.
So I have some of myself. Well, I mean, it's so crazy because I think I was telling Krista, like I never deal with colorism because I date outside my race. And I didn't care if the black guys didn't look at me. I didn't care somebody looking at me. Okay. So I was very open, but I would definitely say that when I was in high school, Ms. Sharon, you say something. I had a bad experience with a black guy that I was dating. And it did scar me a little because when you were talking, I was like, I didn't think about it like that. It did scar me a little. And I think it did shift my preference a little bit. I date all kinds, but I would definitely say that I'd rather date not a white man. Okay, I mean, I'm not saying it like that. Ain't nothing wrong with them.
We're waiting.
I like them all, but I date different ethnicity, and my girlfriends, the ones that know me, y'all know I do, and I noticed that I guess it's not about me. It's about how you treat me. If I'm not seeing you ain't treating me like a queen, you ain't treating me and like the things that I like, then I'm not gonna give you a chance or a date. I just keep it moving. And I feel like, especially, us queen on the line, it's okay to date outside your race. It's okay to try new things because everything is not for everybody, but at least have an open mind. And so that if that don't work, then try this. If this don't work, then try this. But just know that we are beautiful and somebody out there want us. So don't let the colonialism way of thinking of, oh, you're not good enough, or you're not doing this and that. It got nothing to do with you. That's dumb. See, I have to take myself outside the world. Like I went through a lot. So I don't think like the world because I know that somebody out there is looking, believe it or not. And because I have an open mind like that, I don't deal with colorism dating wise because I don't have one preference. I date all kinds so that it's all about not because I want a baby and a light-skinned baby or this and that. I date whoever makes me feel good. I date whoever is, you know what I mean? Because in one point in my life, the last thing I am going to say is You guys need to look up something called the Eve genes, because the Eve genes will tell you who we are as Black women. Okay, without us, there wouldn't even be no race. I think I say that so many times on my thing, but look who you are, because the melanin in us is so amazing. It's so incredible. And scientists know this. Doctors know this, you know, and no other race has it but us. So look up their Eve genes. We carry different race in our in our organs or something like that. I'm not a doctor. Miss Sharon, you know better than me, but we in our DNA, we carry different diversity of all race. And that's what makes us different from the other race. And because we have something special inside of us, we cannot allow the colonialism way of thinking to get in our head. Us as queens, we have to know who we are. We have to identify with what God already called us to be. And other race were just created 6,000 years ago. No offense, I'm just gonna say it like that. Look up your history, you will figure it out. But the whiter race, their job is to break the darker race down. And I just want you guys to know that when we're talking about colorism, it's a big thing in our community. We all know it's there, but we try to avoid it because we try to like not look at it because we're already oppressed, like Crystal said. But no, let's crack all doors and break down these stereotypes, because we can't keep going on in life and these things to embed it in us so that we can carry it and give it to our children.
I'm glad that everybody came on and shared their experiences. I'm glad that this time around we were able to have an open forum with a wide range of skin color types. Thank you, everybody, for your input. At the end of the day, we are all Black. We are all beautiful. We are all still children of God. So let's conduct ourselves as one and go on and teach the masses.
Yes. And thank you guys again for being on our Zoom. Do anybody else have anything else to say before we close up? Is this a good experience? Did you enjoy yourself? Did you like?
This is definitely a good experience. I'm glad you guys are doing this.
Oh,
glad to be invited.
Yes, please come to the next one.
I will.
Okay.
Everyone.
Yes. Anybody else have anything to say?
I thank you guys for actually having this platform. It really is encouraging to me, not as only as a Black woman, but as a parent of Black children, as a wife, just learning how to expand the horizon of these talks to help me grow in a lot of different areas, so that we can do better as a community, because community is so important in getting us to where we need to be and further as we continue to grow. So thank you so much. I appreciate you guys.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you, ladies, for being on here. And I can't wait till we have our next one. And I'm praying that you guys come back, because we actually learned, I learned a lot. So, and yeah, I learned a lot. I don't know about anybody else, but I did. So I just can't wait until the next one. And thank you guys again for joining our Zoom and talking about this amazing topic. So see you at the next topic.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See you.
Bye.
Bye.